Hey everybody, this is Dan,
And this is Ron.
and this is a nominee questionable movies. And today, do we ever have a questionable movie for you? My second or third time at the rodeo, so I'm going to let Ron describe it to you from his state of shock.
What Dan just put me through is practically unforgivable, but it's my fault because I wanted to watch a movie that was so bad it was good. The only problem is that this movie was so bad it was bad.
Mm.
What did you say? Where does this rank, Dan, on your worst movies ever made?
So, worst movies ever made. And we watched Embalming Love from, I believe,
Yeah.
2003, I want to say.
Filmed on location in Burlington, Ontario.
2004, so it was probably shot in 2003, yeah. And uh and yeah, in terms of worst movies I've ever seen, I mean, I'm trying to think like movies that I just like had almost an allergic reaction to. I don't have that to this movie. It's just sort of like it's fun to feel like you're above something, and it's hard not to feel that way watching this movie. Right? The my least favorite movie of all time, let's use that, is Monuments Men with George Clooney.
Right. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. You really
Mm.
like that movie.
I really hated that movie
But
for whatever reason. It just like seemed very full of itself. It just the whole time it was sort of like Walter Cronkite talking about how, because my grandpa used to say like Walter Cronkite called us the greatest generation. I'm like, where's Walter Cronkite now, Grandpa? And it goes on and on and on, and it's so, I mean, it's a hard subject to film, right? Because you're filming a movie about World War II and Nazis. You're trying to put all this emotional weight on like gold that's hidden in a cave when you know the Holocaust is going on.
yeah, but there's famous paintings.
There's famous paintings, yeah. It just all feels kind of weird to me, and just like all the acting is so like we're gonna look sad for points, and here's music in case that doesn't sell it. Like George Clooney as a director, as an actor, like as a celebrity, I like George Clooney. He seems like a fun, cool guy. As an actor, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like he should be talking like over a car commercial, like every part that he's ever in. Anyway, so back to Embalming Love.
Yeah, at least like Monuments Men has the saving grace of having competent people work on it, even if you don't like the final product. Whereas this, did anybody work on this movie, or did it just sort of materialize?
Well, I think I would say Monuments Men is worse because it doesn't have the excuse of like, this movie was made by nobodies. This movie, like, I'm holding the DVD right now. I bought. So part of why I chose this is because there's a story behind this DVD. So the local movie store, you may have heard Pete and I discuss it with Ron on the shock treatment episode. The drive-in movie store, they go out of business like 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago. And I just pick up whatever looks weird in the bins. You know, I got probably like $30 on me or something. So I think I grabbed like 6 or 7 DVDs. And yeah, and so this just stood out for how fucking janky it was. And I think for the episode, for the thumbnail, we should put just a fucking picture of this case, because it is like I've literally seen like self-produced DVDs of like a high school band concert that look more than this DVD concert or this DVD cover.
Bar mitzvah videos.
Yeah, like they'll have, you know, like less Microsoft Word art. There's like typos on the back of it. It's center aligned for no discernible reason. They put the barcode in the wrong place. They put a fake MPAA rating, I'm pretty sure, because it's like all fuzzy. It seems really unlikely that this movie ever made it to the MPAA.
Uh-huh.
And it just like everyone involved in this movie just like never went anywhere.
So let's talk about what the movie's about. There's a woman. Let me see if I could boil it down to the nitty gritty. There's a woman who is dating this guy, but it's open. He doesn't want to commit. She says, yeah, but she really just wants to be dating him. Her best friend suggests that she make him jealous by flirting and then making out with his roommate. The roommate is always kind of trying to make moves on her. So she ends up doing so, but that's not enough. So she sleeps with the roommate. It turns out that that's not the first time that she had hooked up with the roommate.
Mhm.
And yeah, so the guy that she is actually dating is really upset by this. He's really sad. We see him cry.
Well, he's making quesadillas when it happens.
He's making quesadillas. So this is the flashback when we learn that he was making quesadillas while she was in the roommate's bedroom. They could see each other, but what the guy couldn't see was that the roommate's head was under the blankets eating her out.
Mhm.
But yeah, she feels bad about this. He ends up sleeping with her supposed best friend, who has actually just been getting her to cheat on the guy so that then she could sleep with him because she's always been into him. Okay, why is it called embalming love? She is a mortician. She is finishing up mortician school and she gets a job as an embalmer. And she's about to work on her first body and she pulls off the sheet and oh my God, it's Jake, her ex-boyfriend.
Mhm.
I guess he tried to kill himself. It's a little unclear because we only see.
Well, he did kill himself, right? Or why else is he in the funeral home? And we get that shot of his roommate walking in. It's like, oh shit.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, I thought he saw him like with the best friend. Oh, okay. So he found.
Yeah, because he gets the call where it's like, hey, you walked out in the middle of a fucking gig last night. We're kicking you out of the band.
Right.
And then petition lady's like, I don't want to sleep with you anymore because I figured out you look like Pee Wee Herman fucked Guy Fieri in Canada. And like, which he does. That's literally. And so there's so many. I feel like this is almost like, so the parts of The Room, the Tommy Wiseau movie that are like iconic now for how terrible they are, they're more over the top, but I feel like this movie has just as many subtly awful details.
But they're not fun.
They're not, I mean, some of them are fun. I think at the beginning with the like, so in the film opens with, and all of this is like, half of this movie's out of focus. The sound mixing, it looks like it was probably shot on like a $200 mini DV camera from that period of time. And so the opening scene, we see the Pee Wee Herman, Guy Fieri guy, and mortician lady. They're like doing it, I guess, but they like throw 8 condoms to the side of the bed.
That's how much sex they've had in one marathon session. In fact, it's right. She wants sex so much that he's exasperated. He's tired, and he's like, "Oh my God, not again."
Right. It's like they need to. The guy looks so sketchy. She needs a fresh condom every stroke.
Yeah.
Or else she's gonna get like fucking cancer AIDS of the butt.
But yeah, we see 8 used condoms on the floor. We see a hand plopping them down on the floor, one in succession, one after the other.
And there's that great scene later where they have the awkward dialogue and the guy's just like, safe sex is really important.
Right. So she hands him she hands him a condom as she's on her knees ready to blow him. So that's impressive. That's safe sex. That's safe sex.
This is like a movie that didn't have the balls to just be a softcore porno movie.
Right, even though it shows us bare breasts at least 4 times. In the first, it was once every 10 minutes, starting with the first minute. And then yeah, it was about every 10 minutes or so. And then the breast disappeared. No more bare breasts. But geez, Dan, why did you put me through this?
I I mean, I usually have a soft spot for this movie because I remember watching it when the drive-in movie store went out of business.
Uh-huh.
We watched all the shitty movies we picked up because it was me, Ross, and Zach, and we went over. And that was the first time I ever saw Shark Attack 3. If you ever saw that movie's amazing.
Okay.
Like in a terrible way, but like it knows it's terrible, but they're just having a lot of fun with like god awful computer effects.
Wait,
And
we watch that.
we could have watched that. Yeah, I don't have that DVD. I do have this DVD, but and I just remember we started watching this and our jaws dropped and just like the sheer, and I was watching like shit that I was watching anything that showed up on the Ray Carney list at that point. So he was getting like mini DV movies people made in their backyard sent to him. And if he thought it was good, he would put it up. Some of them are not very good. And so I was pretty used to like amateurish production. I'd seen Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. I'd seen The Magic Christmas Tree. I'd seen, a lot of bad movies by the time I watched this. And yeah, it's even so, we all in my sister, so everybody else that was hanging out with us. And the second we see the pile of condoms on the side of the bed, my jaw just dropped. And I was like, this is because I've bought a lot of off-label DVDs. I've bought a lot of like very janky looking. That's like a thing I look for if I'm out buying DVDs is like, does this look like it was self-produced?
Uh-huh.
And this is the worst one.
Okay. Yes.
That I think I ever bought.
All right, got it. Because I'd say I've seen worse, but I think this is where it starts getting into sort of what's your favorite movie, and so this is like what's your most disliked movie?
Right. And it's like, what is bad, right?
Right. These
I
are
know this is bad. It's like the Supreme Court on pornography. I know it when I see it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so what is a worse movie than this you have seen?
There's, I don't know what the names are. Some I can't even share. It's so bad that the names don't matter. I mean, this one there aren't too many movies with the word embalm in them.
No.
Yeah.
And there is some embalming. So there's a it's not great. It's a sequence. She takes like a dead cat and like microwaves it and then tries to embalm it in her basement. We never come back to it. It's just like, I guess the point of the scene was she's so dedicated to embalming, she's like taking it home with her.
She's taking it home. She's doing the embalming on top of the washer dryer. That's how committed she is. Yeah.
And like any other movie, that would be a setup to her being like a serial killer. And so you do have some like really lazy poetic metaphors throughout the movie, right? You got the cat and the boyfriend, right? They both show up dead, and she's like, she works at a burger joint, so every part of her life she's dealing with just like dead animal material, right?
Okay.
And yeah, and in one sense, like a really bad movie or a really bad self-published book or a really bad autobiographical comic or anything like that, you get the sense that you're getting. I think the way Henry James put this is, a good book will tell you about its subject matter, a bad book will tell you about its author, right? And so you pick up on these little details of just like, I have some idea of how this person lives because there's just such a limited perspective in the movie that these have to be details. Like maybe nobody was actually a mortician, but somebody working on this movie definitely did whippets.
Yes. We see in one scene they're the protagonist and her friend and coworker are standing outside in the back smoking or something. I don't know, they're talking. And then another one of their coworkers comes out, goes to his car. Somebody's picking him up. He gets into the passenger seat and he holds up with this big giant grin a can of whipped cream. So we know where that's headed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
and then we see the manager at the restaurant later, and it's like, that asshole ate all my whipped cream.
Yeah. And this person is also into bondage and cuckold porn.
Definitely. And
And
I
breasts.
also get the sense that, like, even if they're not a mortician, they don't spend a lot of time around living people. Like did I ever talk about the Brendan Fraser effect?
No.
Okay,
Okay,
so like I have a theory, huh?
remind me something about Brendan Fraser, but go on.
Okay, so I have like a theory about Brendan Fraser,
Uh-huh.
and it's like I find Brendan Fraser compelling,
Okay.
but not in the sense of like when you watch him act, you get the sense that like he has not spent time around people. Like he's making these really weird delivery choices.
Uh-huh.
His mannerisms all seem like he was like actually the Encino Man or something, or like everything compelling about him is just how alien his body language and vocal delivery is.
Uh-huh.
And it's not in like Nicolas Cage, it's in a self-aware capacity. With Brendan Fraser, it's just sort of he might have been raised by wolves, like actually. And
Okay.
so in Embalming Love, you have half the performances in the movie at least meet that threshold of just like these people, because they're not having conversation. Like the phrasing of the conversations are very stilted, but they're not having conversations that are like that foreign from reality.
Uh-huh.
Like there's something they could draw on as actors, and it's just not coming to them.
And they're not compelling.
They're not. No.
So Brendan Fraser is at least compelling.
Right. And that's why, when I say Brendan Fraser, people know what I'm talking about. And when I say Embalming Love,
So I just saw a movie and it was something that I don't know, Netflix or Amazon kept recommending, Hairbrained. And Brendan Fraser's in it, and he plays a big role in it. And so there was a surprise Brendan Fraser, which is exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for. When I've seen every Owen Wilson and every Seth Rogen film that I could find on Netflix and Amazon, I should be going on a Brendan Fraser hunt. Because
Brendan Fraser is the only good part of the movie Crash.
Are you serious?
Did you ever see Crash, like 2008, the like everybody's racist movie by Paul Haggis before he got Paul Haggis got Me Too'd, so we never have to hear about Paul Haggis again, thank God.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't remember him in it, but I mean, I don't remember.
Is it horrible that like at this point, a lot of that news it's just like triumphant Schadenfreude?
Uh-huh.
I mean, like I hear the stuff about Joss Whedon, it's like I should feel bad for victims, but I just feel like good that like I don't ever have to talk about fucking Buffy the Vampire Slayer again. Does that make me a horrible person?
You can find the good in anything. There's a silver lining for you.
I'm a Candide of the postmodern era. We're living in the best of all possible worlds.
Hey, did you hear about Kevin Spacey's upcoming movie?
Yeah. He's playing a cop investigating Kevin Spacey.
Basically, yeah.
It's like actual A Scanner Darkly, but not actually because it's in a movie.
Speaking of Embalming Love. So yeah, speaking of Embalming Love. More thoughts?
So what stood out to you about this movie as being we've covered some of what's bad, but like what was the moment where you were like there's not going to be any redeeming features to this movie?
The protagonist, I can't remember her name.
Mm-hmm.
The embalmer, the mortician, or how did you say mortician lady? The mortician, our protagonist, early on is in the kitchen and she's making food, I think. And you could see her going back and forth between the counter and the fridge. And I'm not sure exactly where, but you barely see the food itself because it's just a little too far below camera. And you see her at one point, you see like some cellophane paper, like she just unwrapped something. And you might see like a brief moment of green, but you don't see what she unwrapped. And in another movie that might be Ozu, that might be intentional, right? There's stuff happening off camera.
How would Ozu have made Embalming Love?
He could have made it happen because there's all these camera shots. Like there's one where the action is happening just below the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Others, like she's sitting at the end of the couch on the phone and the camera never moves. And so you just see the corner of the wall and she's not positioned in it properly. So the whole thing is imbalanced and it never moves. And there's so many shots like that. I mean, I think they really got a lot of mileage out of that tripod.
Mm.
So all these elements of Ozu, right? The camera
Mm.
still, people move in and out of the. Well, though in this case, they're not even moving in.
Nobody moves though. Like this is
Yeah.
this is like the school of filmmaking where it's like if there's a person talking or a relevant object that needs to be centered in the frame. The only concern of framing in a movie is that the object of focus is actually on the video.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like there's no attention to framing in this movie.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think they understand the concept. Hey, I barely understand it, but I'm not the one that just went and made this movie and printed out the cover.
Well, it's just like all of it looks ugly, right? Like there wasn't a point in the movie where you're just sort of like, okay, the person doesn't know how to use the camera, but at least like the way these objects or people or whatever are assembled in the frame is somehow pleasing to me. There was no point in the movie where I was like, oh, like even accidentally they came up with a nice shot.
No, that never happened. So
Which
so
is
my
it's almost hard because I feel like most terrible movies, there's at least like there's going to be a landscape shot where I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool.
Mhm.
Nothing. There's no
No.
redeeming, and it was professionally pressed. Somebody decided to distribute this.
No, okay, I'll tell you what I did like. Okay, the redeeming parts, and there were it was the comic relief, I guess. It was these little funny bits. So one of them was the coworker going into the car and showing off with that big grin the can of whipped cream, so that clearly they're going to do whippets. That was one. The other one inside the restaurant, right before that, it's again the embalmer and her best friend slash coworker, and the manager tells them that they did tells Amanda, the friend, that she did the burger wrong. She got the order wrong. There's mustard on it, and he hands it back. And so in the foreground, we see the protagonist talking. They're having a conversation, and she's talking. So you're supposed to be focusing on her. But a little back is her friend, and the way she's taking care of the burger is she takes the patty out of the bun. She wipes it off with a napkin and then puts it back. That's how she gives no mustard. So that's two. And then the third one is the mom is a Mennonite.
Oh, right. Like
Came on the Mayflower or something. And there's no explanation for that. It's just thrown in there. And we see her twice. It wasn't just once. And so it's like there's no explanation for it. And she is just mom. She does somebody swear. Oh, I think it's the dad that swears. The dad's wearing like a average boring sweater. He's not.
Yeah, just like her mom is a Mennonite.
Yeah. But that's never explained. We get it multiple times. And I think that's not bad filmmaking. That's a joke. That's so obviously that does not belong. It can't be that they just, the only actress they could find of a certain age is a Mennonite.
You can kind of tell it's like a movie somebody made to be able to say, like, I finished making a movie.
Yeah, look,
I don't get a sense of any genuine emotional involvement from anyone working on this movie.
No, interesting. No, I think the people that were involved in this were passionate. They were passionate, and this was their dream project. Dan, you know what you and I are doing? We're shitting on
people's dreams.
We're shitting on people's dreams.
But they're all dreams.
Yeah. But yeah, they totally was like, oh, look, I made a movie. Hey, that's great. Oh, that was so much fun and all that. Oh, by the way, the movie sucked.
Right, it's like more coherent. Did you ever see Manos, The Hands of Fate?
The Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah. Like somebody bet somebody that he couldn't make a movie for like $3,000, and it doesn't make any sense. But it's technically a movie, and it's sort of. I mean, this is more coherent. Like this has a plot. You could follow it.
It's got a twist ending.
It's got just like the most dated fashion in hair I think I've ever. Okay. So the guy that the two women are fighting over,
Uh-huh.
I mentioned earlier, but he has frosted tips. Like he literally looks like Paul Rubens, Guy Fieri teamed up with advances in medical science and just squatted and pushed out like and the baby had frosted tips. Like just coming out. It wasn't a bald baby. And he grows into the guy in this movie. Just like how specifically somehow they found the two men in the world who look like in Plato's ideal world of forms. If you're trying to find like the ideal form of some guy who's in like a bar band that's never going to go anywhere, both of these guys. In the music in this movie, there's a lot of original music in this movie, or at least licensed music, and it's so bad.
Yeah.
All of it. All like with that exception, right? There's nothing. I can't think of a. It's just like the worst fucking early '90s like Gigolo Ants like third wave jangle pop where they get rid of any kind of bass in the recording.
Mm-hmm.
You just got just like trebly unpleasant guitars with no hooks and people singing like really thematically obvious like I lost you and I'll never find you again kind of stuff. She's like looking over the dead guy. I can't remember if they played music on that scene. There's also just a lot of scenes where they don't need to be playing music over something, and it just emphasizes how poor the quality of the audio recording on this movie was.
Yeah.
Because you hear the fuzz, like really. The only moment of completely clear audio in this movie is like an answering machine message.
You had mentioned that during the movie. And so then when the answering machine came up a second time, I paid attention to it, and you were absolutely right.
Why would that, like an answering machine? I'm old enough to remember answering machines. Like there's fuzz on it's the one place you're supposed to have the fuzzy, like crappy audio.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. So there's movies on less so on Netflix, but on Amazon, they've got a bunch of movies on there that received either never got a distribution deal or never not like a theater distribution or whatever. Some of them are actually with well-known actors, and the movie just didn't get picked up for some reason. Yeah, I don't know what these are, or maybe they. You know what? I bet these make the festival circuits and then don't get picked up.
And this probably made because like if you're sending movies around to film festivals,
yeah. Oh,
every tiny town in the fucking universe has their own little film festival. You could get this into a film festival,
right? So when I say that I have seen things where, so there's two things we're talking about here. So the second one, the film festivals, I have seen things that are worse than this, and they were involved in film festivals. But the other one is on Amazon. So sometimes there'll be these movies that are actually with well-known actors and all that, but and so occasionally there'll be a good movie that just, I don't know how this one slipped through the cracks kind of thing. But they'll also have movies that are clearly made by people who wanted to be the next Kevin Smith or Richard Linklater or something. And they say, hey, I'm going to max out my credit cards in order to do this and get some.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever see 50 Pills with Kristen Bell?
No.
That's like totally a fake Kevin Smith movie. Yeah. Like it's like Kevin Smith meets Road Trip with no money. It's not good, but yeah, like this guy, he needs money over the weekend or something, and he has to sell like his roommate's stash of prescription pills in a weekend.
Well, so this category of movie, and that shows up on Amazon, is there are no names. They're all and they'd probably only get as far, if they're lucky, onto a regional festival. They're not ending up at Sundance, but somehow they're ending up on Amazon.
Well, because they can buy it as cheap. Like Netflix bought some of the shit that I have seen, because I have not had an actual active. I had Netflix like 3 or 4 years ago because I bought a used Nintendo Wii that whoever owned it never logged out. And Netflix forgot that the Nintendo Wii existed.
Uh-huh.
So I had completely free Netflix for like 10 months before they ended Netflix on the Nintendo Wii like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, going through there, there's like the stuff they produce themselves, which there is some like bottom of the barrel, like horror straight to DVD bullshit in there. Most of it looks okay. It's like, it varies from like stars to HBO level, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of shit. Like Thanksgiving is the best example I can think of where they just saw it. They're like, the title, it's a different mentality that you go into, right? Than like when you're producing movies for Netflix versus for a movie theater, you're dealing with like a more passive audience.
Uh-huh.
Because like a movie theater, it's like, okay, I want you to pay me $12 to go see this movie about like a Thanksgiving turkey that kills people over public domain music from the Internet Archive. That's literally what this movie is.
I'd watch that.
I watched it.
Oh, okay.
They suckered me in. I did. The puppetry in the movie is actually not too bad, but the fact that they're so obviously using these like completely inappropriate songs from the 1920s because they didn't have to pay for them. Just like it's so cheap. And like the end credits, and I think the opening credits in this movie, they both look like they were made in iMovie.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, I would not be surprised if all of Embalming Love was made in iMovie because there's nothing in this movie that you couldn't have done very easily on iMovie. But yeah, there's just like low budget, or there's those few studios like when you go into a CVS and they got the DVD rack, or like a Walmart and they got the clearance DVDs in the back. God, what is it? They did Transmorphers. So there's a few studios where it's called Mockbusters,
Uh-huh.
and it's just like let's take a name that sounds a little bit like something very popular, make like a version of it that's sort of like Russian Lord of the Rings or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Put it on a DVD and hope like somebody confuses this for the real thing. There's a lot of those on Amazon. There's a lot of those on Netflix. And they make a lot of, it's sort of like straight to DVD action movies. And you just sort of gotta, because straight to DVD action movies are like one or two of those that are pretty good out of a few thousand. And I rely on, because there are people who can just watch those all day.
Uh-huh.
I can't sit through that many action movies, but thankfully they report back and it's like, these are the two that we think transcended the inherent limitations of that production model. I feel like a lot of film criticism now is about like finding examples of something that transcended like an inherently flawed or just stupid production model. It's like fishing around for the one guy at Enron who transcended the corporate mindset. Like, yeah, you were going to say something.
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
No, other than like, wow, we really got a lot out of this movie.
Oh yeah, and I had a thought at the beginning of this. So like, I think, I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like my relationship to a bad movie is like communal. My relationship to a good movie is more like personal. Like it's almost easier to share a bad movie.
You talk over it, you make fun of it.
Right, it's a more social experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a good movie, you want to be absorbed in it. You're not talking the whole time during a good movie.
Right.
Whereas we talk the whole time. Oh, I don't mean you specifically. I mean generally you. So
I mean, I talk a fair amount during movies, especially if it's like a movie I've seen before. Like a lot of the enjoyment of watching it socially is basically like, what can we point out? Like, what kind of fine details can we all comb out of this?
So that doesn't. So what I was describing as part of the difference doesn't apply to you.
I mean, like with a good movie though, you're gonna get like, there's points where you actually want to be watching the movie, right? Like versus this where
you want to be talking the whole time.
Right. You just sort of like, oh my God, this is so.
Although
I'm gonna put as much effort into watching this as they put into making it.
There was one point in which I did want to listen to the dialogue in order to make sure I understood what was going on, because there's no other cues to what's going on. You have to listen to what they're saying. What they're saying is very simple. and there's a lot of words for very little. But
Right, like you could say this is not a visual movie, even though that's technically an oxymoron.
right, because it is a movie after all. These are moving pictures. This isn't radio.
There's more thought put into where the camera is placed during the like token video version of the Stern Show.
Oh, right, there's the TV show within the movie.
Well, no, it's like Howard Stern. Like you can look up, like there would be a TV station where they're literally just playing his radio show, but here's a camera in the radio station.
Okay.
And there's more thought put into how that's produced. Like there's security camera footage at probably, like a Cumberland Farms or something that looks better than this.
Right. Because security cameras at least have an interesting angle. The camera that
can autofocus.
It cannot. This was either never in focus or the autofocus that they had it like centered on the wrong thing.
Right, and it's a bad transfer on top of that. Like in theory, this DVD should have been produced by whoever has the master tapes, if there are even master tapes. And it just looks so fuzzy and great. Like I've seen Italian bootleg DVDs, like those dollar store things that look better than this. Just like transfer wise, like disregarding the camera not working.
Do you think that the tape they used for the initial recording, I guess that'd be the masters? Do you think they no, those would be the dailies. Do you think those were recorded on a fresh or a used tape?
It might have been on a fresh tape. I mean, so with many DV cameras, which I'm 100% sure is what they used to film this, high end versus low end, and I guess with other digital cameras, this is sort of it's like less of an issue now because all the stuff got cheaper, but you would have cameras with one chip processing the color and cameras with 3 chips processing the color. And so if you ever see a movie from around that period, including my first movie where it looks kind of muddy for a lot of it, that's the one chip processing color.
Okay.
It is, everything looks like, really, in this movie, everything looks fucking brown and like puke green.
Yeah. Especially one scene where that's the color scheme for the house.
And so what it looks like they did, and I don't know if this is actually, because there's no like VHS artifacts, but it just looks degraded. I would guess that they finish the movie, they transfer it to a VHS tape. The other weird thing is that this is in 4:3. Most movies from 2004 are not going to be in 4:3. And so they cut it together using iMovie from this like crappy mini DV camera. They probably used the microphone in the camera, transferred it to a VHS tape to send it around for screeners, because that's probably how a lot of screeners got sent out back then still. Transferred that VHS back to the computer, then put it on this DVD. So it's so bad.
Oof. So do you think they actually edited it using iMovie or Avid or something like that? Or did they record a scene, press stop, go to the next location, press record the scene, press stop, go to the next location, press record?
Well, they did have to edit it because the music is inserted afterwards, but if I had to guess, like based on the editing, either they didn't know how to use either program. There's nothing that they do in this movie that couldn't have been done. I mean, hell, they could have made this in fucking Windows Movie Maker. And it would not look any different. Also, the credits go on for a full 6 minutes.
Yeah, a minute of that was for the special thanks thing. I know that because I actually watched. I wanted to see how many special thanks there were. There were so many special thanks. There was even a very special thanks at the end. Because the special thanks weren't all that special. But
if I'd just gotten a special thanks, I would have been pissed.
Well, it means that they let you film in your room. Or that was your car that they borrowed when the guy walked into the car and held up the can of whipped cream.
Right. This is the kind of movie where the special thanks, it should just say like enablers at the top of the screen.
I wonder if this movie got like. Oh no, this was still before like crowdfunding.
It has IMDb votes. It has a 6.1 on IMDb.
Let's see what else has director Darrin LaPointe done. Oh wait, this is it? No. Hey, he wrote.
How's he gonna make a second movie after this? Like you shop this around as your reel, and like you hire this guy, you're literally worse off than if you grab like somebody who has an Instagram off the street.
Hey, the guy that played the roommate Ross, Jason Therien, actually has a picture in his IMDb entry. And he's in. Wait, he was in Fargo? Oh,
the TV show.
Yeah, so he did something. Oh, he's in Z.
Wait, was he in Happy Endings?
Did I see Happy Endings, or was he in Happy Endings?
No, he just looks kind of like this dude that was on Happy Endings.
Let's see. No.
Okay.
But he was in Double Booked. I don't know what that is. And a short called Creepy Jesus, in which he played Paul. Let's see.
Somebody made it out of this movie alive.
Oh, he's in Brokeback Mountain, in which he plays the role of bar patron, uncredited.
So he's the only one who like moved out to Los Angeles after. He might have been the distributor then.
Oh yeah, let's see. Wait, is he one of the Oh, he's also a casting director. Wow. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, they don't have the full crew listed. See full cast and crew. Directed, writing, cast, produced by, music by Dan. There's a music by Remo Sino and Anton Berto. So it's not just that they stole music, that they paid $1 per song. It's that they actually had musicians. Somebody did some. I'm assuming that they actually played the music, not just.
I mean, I'm sure it's probably people they knew.
Yeah. Jason Therien. He is on crew. He was the first assistant director. All right. So he was
movie.
What was that?
Of this movie?
Yeah. So the guy that's in an episode of Fargo and played bar patron uncredited in Brokeback Mountain was also the first assistant director on this movie. So he's like a jack of all trades.
With that kind of star power, it would be better known.
Oh, hey, the guy that did the let's see, what did he do? The sound department, the sound mixer and editor, worked on Snow Dogs.
Okay.
Which is as additional crew before this movie came out. Oh, and he worked on Hot Rod the movie. Oh wait, no, that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of
Hot Rod the movie is the Andy Samberg thing, right? No.
That's what I was thinking of, but no, it's a different Hot Rod the movie. An unrated documentary.
I mean, the other question is like, how many of these are false? So like, if you go to my IMDb page, there's like 3 movies I'm credited as being in that I had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
And there's movies that I was actually involved in that I am not credited in. So
okay.
There may be false positives somewhere in here, but yeah, just like it. I guess you can't self-release a movie and then credit it to Alan Smithy. That's like if you left a flaming turd on somebody's doorstep, but you like put one of those laminated labels on it that said dog turd, like Martha Stewart style.
Because you still want to make money off this thing. So like anything you can do, but you don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, they didn't have to make a lot of money. I mean, most of they couldn't even afford full hair dye. That's why they only frosted the tips.
Well, how much does it cost to rent a low-end consumer level video camera for 2 days?
In 2003?
Yeah.
I mean, if any of them were going to a university, like nothing.
No, but like if I wanted to go do that, let's see, I'd probably have to put down my my driver's license or credit card or something as a deposit, and then I pay $50 a day for I'm talking about you go get it.
Even in 2003, like unless you're talking about like rent-a-tire kind of places, which maybe that's where they got it from, or like a pawn shop.
No, I just meant that they go to like the video store and they rent a video camera for 2 days. Because that's all you need for this movie. Anything more than that is overkill.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying that like a video supply rental place, even in 2003, would not have rented out a camera this bad. Like I mean, a camera this bad, because I had a camera this bad. That was what I shot my first movie on.
Mhm.
Let's see, I got that probably right around when this movie came out. So at most they paid $400 for the camera.
Okay.
I don't think a place would rent out a camera on that level. I mean, like I was using a cheap home camcorder, basically.
Wow. So they need that. They need to pay for some tape. Somebody already had a Mac that had iMovie on it. So yeah, any final thoughts on Embalming Love?
It exists.
It does.
We bore witness,
But should
as
it?
one must do with history's great tragedies and accidents.
It exists as a statement of fact. Should it exist is the real question here. But maybe that's one of those eternal mysteries. Why does
we're going to end up with like everybody that worked on this movie on Twitter? They're still like Googling themselves all the time, and they're going to like challenge us to a fist fight live on the show.
Do you think any of them are in Cameo? Should we look up, go to Cameo and do a search?
Just look up everybody that was in this movie.
Yeah. Like just Barrier. And
I don't think Cameo lets you charge less than $5 though.
But yeah, I have nothing else to say about this.
You know what this movie is? This movie is so I got a friend, and his son was sort of a sketchy individual in rural Montana, and his son takes him to a strip club once. And my friend is like, "Oh yeah, we're fine," and he brings out like a little roll of fives that he got out of the vending machine or the ATM machine or whatever. And his son says to him, No. Don't worry. I got a big wad of ones. You give them fives, they're going to want to go home with you. That is this movie.
Wait, but what if I want them to come home with me?
This movie?
So is there somebody out there that actually wants to give this movie the fives? There's got to be. There's somebody out there who loves this movie. I'm telling you, this is somebody's favorite movie, even if it's only because you see bare breasts 4 times.
I mean, like if I showed my breasts in this movie, and this was the only movie I ever acted in, I would feel like weirdly protective about it and be in denial that like my youth was so misspent.
See, if I was in this movie and I showed my breasts and then I went to have a career, I wouldn't worry about anybody finding this movie.
Right. But there's a big kind of science fiction hypothetical in your statement. Went on to have a career.
That's not anybody who was involved in this movie. Well, no, that one guy is then became bar patron uncredited in Brokeback Mountain. Talk about a career.
Well, it's sort of like that movie where John Wayne plays Genghis Khan and everybody died of cancer like 15 years later. But like this movie was cheaper, so they didn't even get cancer. It's just like the public relations equivalent.
Oh, wow. Oh, that was bad.
Was that rough?
Oh, that was rough. Yeah. All right. Man. So,
I feel kind of bad though, because like if anybody that was involved in this looks this up, like we're going to be the only in-depth review of this movie probably ever produced.
Right. The closest they have right now is those 15 IMDb ratings. A whole podcast.
Enough to get you into the drive-in movie store.
Yeah. Wow, a whole podcast episode devoted to discussing and breaking down Embalming Love. That'd be their dream. Dan, early on, I was concerned about shitting on their dreams. We're going to make their dreams come true.
I mean, we spent more time thinking about this movie than the filmmakers did.
Yeah. And the movie itself was longer than the amount of time that the filmmakers spent thinking about it.
Well, it's an hour and 6 minute movie with 6 minutes of credits, so it's like there's not an idea that they're even stretching. It's sort of like it's like a single piece of gum that's been on the pavement for like 3 weeks, and it's just like a really flat, thin sheet over the sidewalk.
Yeah, see, and you know why that
And then
analogy
they're
works?
like they're picking it up with like a pressure washer, and then they're like, chew on this.
But Dan, you know what we did? We looked at
Mhm.
it and we said, "Hey, free gum."
Right.
We chose to eat that piece of gum.
Right, like it's beyond ABC gum. It's like ABCDEF gum.
Dan, you chose to eat that piece of gum twice.
Well, yeah, because it proves to myself that I'm invincible. That I
Okay,
can keep making dumb, youthful mistakes without consequences.
I'm invincible as of 2 days ago. Had
Oh,
second.
really? So you watched this movie before I suggested it?
Yeah, apparently. This is the way I dealt with COVID. No, I had my second shot plus 2 weeks. 2 weeks was 2 days ago. So
Mm.
I can now. I actually walked outside today without a mask.
Nice. Yeah, I've been good to go for about a week now.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. So I guess that's everything, more than everything that anyone should say about this movie.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
And I guess until next time, I'm still Dan.
And I'm still Ron.
And yeah, we'll see you at the Inomini homepage.
There we
That really
go.
rolls off the tongue, right?
Not at the movies because we're already past the movies.
Yeah. Roger Ebert's gonna like fucking gum me to death from beyond the grave.
For stealing his lines.
Uh-huh.
Great. All right. Well, take care, everyone.
Later.